All right, it's a Tuesday edition of the Morning Pitt here on youtube.com/Panther-Lair.com. I'm Chris Peak from Panther-Lair.com, the website that you need to be on if you want the latest Pitt sports news, football, basketball, and recruiting. Panther-Lair.com, Pittsburgh.rivals.com. All kinds of stuff going on there. Panther-Lair.com, as you are no doubt aware. And of course, everyone is talking about everything that's going on the message boards at Panther-Lair.com, Pittsburgh.rivals.com. You're a Pitt fan. You like to talk to other Pitt fans. You like to have those conversations about Pitt sports and what's going on in the world of Pitt sports. And the place to do it is right there at Panther-Lair.com, Pittsburgh.rivals.com. It's literally all day, every day. People are on the message boards talking about Pitt sports. You want to be part of that conversation, go check out the website, Panther-Lair.com, Pittsburgh.rivals.com. Of course, you're in the right place to begin with, right here at youtube.com/Panther-Lair.com. It's our YouTube channel where we post post-game press conferences and post-practice press conference videos, and we do live streams, and we have our Morning Pitt videos like you're watching right now that we put out every day of the week, Monday through Friday. Just breaking down, talking about everything that's going on in the world of Pitt sports, whatever is new that day or whatever topic happens to pop into my mind. And, you know, sometimes it's relevant to the current day and sometimes it's not. Sometimes news makes it easy to stay relevant to the current day. But if you want to make sure you don't miss any of it, click subscribe. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Subscribe button's right down there. It's in like the yellow dot. You see the yellow.com part of that graphic. There's a little blue rectangle. It's subscribe. Click that thing, and you will never miss any of our video content we post here on youtube.com/Panther-Lair.com. Once you're subscribed, you can turn on notifications, and then you'll get an alert that we posted something new or that when we went live, like we're going to do tomorrow night for our Panther-Lair show live stream at 8:30 p.m. Tomorrow night right here at youtube.com/Panther-Lair.com. There's something like 60% of the people who watch these videos are not subscribed. I don't understand how that number works out. It doesn't make sense, but you should watch it anyway. Or you should subscribe if you're watching this video and you're not, because it doesn't cost you anything. It's not going to put you on the hook for anything, and it'll make our numbers look good, and that's what we're trying to do. Speaking of numbers, you can also like this video. We appreciate that very much. Click the like button, click the subscribe button. We'll keep doing this, and I think we all benefit from it. You know, and I plan out loosely, pencil in. I mean, I use a pen, but I sort of plan out what we're going to talk about on these Morning Pitt videos each day. I mean, during the season, it's a little bit either. During the football season, it's a little easier. During the basketball season, it's a little easier because you have games, and you can kind of plan your content around those games and what parts or what areas you're going to focus on each day. Once you get into the off season, you have to kind of. It helps to plan it out a little bit better. And so I thought we would do another recruiting video this week at some point. We did one last week on, it might have been 28, 29. It was Wednesday, I think it was, that we did it because Pitt got a couple commitments. They got two guys to commit. I think it was, who was that? Francis Brew, the defensive tackle, and Eric Ingerson, the tight end from Nebraska, and they got two commitments like in the previous week. So holy cow, two commitments in March. We got to talk about that. And I thought, well, maybe we'll do another recruiting episode. You know, maybe we'll do a recruiting video every week just to kind of get into some recruiting topics. You know, if it's relevant, if there's something going on, if there's something we want to discuss. There was something we need to discuss because Pitt is recruiting like crazy right now in the month of March. It seemed wild that they had gotten two commitments last week, which brought their total up to 6 for the class of 2024 before the end of March, which is a lot. I mean, holy cow, they got 6 commitments before the end of March. That's crazy. They never get that many early commitments. Well, now they have 10. They have since, in the last week, and really just in the last 4 days or something, they've added, or 3 days really, they've added 4 more commitments to bring the recruiting class of 2024 up to 10 total. One of those 4 is not yet announced as of the time we're recruiting this video, recording this video. I'm so caught up thinking about recruiting that I can't even get my words straight. But we recorded this video last night, Monday night. Tried to wait as late as possible in case the announcement came. It did not come before we recorded this, so if it's already out, I apologize. My guess is it'll come out sometime today on Tuesday. But we know 3 of the 4, and we can talk about that. Yeah, and I think we should. And I mean, obviously we will, because that's the point of today's episode. We'll run through the names and then we'll talk about these guys and kind of what it means for Pitt's recruiting class. The first one that came in over the weekend, Giovanni Cooley, an offensive lineman, offensive tackle prospect from Cathedral Prep in Erie, Pennsylvania. Yesterday it came out, or yesterday he committed and announced Zach Crothers, a defensive end from Chaminade-Madonna in Florida, committed, and Tayshawn Banks. Banks, a defensive back, a safety prospect from Cincinnati, who actually committed on Sunday, but he announced it yesterday, so that one came out. And then, like I say, there was one more that happened yesterday, hasn't come out yet. We'll keep an eye out for that. But I mean, first of all, 10 commitments before the end of March. What's going on? I actually sent a text to someone, one of the people that I tend to talk to about Pitt recruiting, somebody who's got insight on it. And I said, what the heck is going on? After the fourth commitment came out, after the second one yesterday, the second Pat Narduzzi Pitt is it tweet came out last night. I sent a text. I said, what the heck? And I didn't say heck. What is going on? Because this is crazy. I mean, we've never seen them have 10 commitments before the end of March. And at this point, where there's like still 3 days left to go in the month, how can you rule out more coming? I mean, I don't think there will be more commitments, but they're on a roll right now. And there's some real momentum right now. And there's a lot of things that I think you tie it to. And I think there's a lot of things that you can tie this recruiting momentum to. Part of it is getting guys on campus for visits. That's always a big driver of commitments. When you get guys on campus, they're around the team, they're around the program, they're around the facilities. They're really putting themselves in the situation and saying, could I live here? Could I play here? Could I exist in this environment? And a lot of times guys came away. I mean, if you've done it right, if you conduct the visit the right way, a lot of times guys will come away saying, yes, I could live here. I could be here. I could be part of this. I do want to be part of this. And the commitment follows. It doesn't always happen, and it certainly doesn't always happen during March visits. We've seen spring camps in the past where Pitt has had a lot of guys come in for visits, and they didn't produce commitments like this. So what's different now? What has changed now that's getting all of these guys to jump on the Pitt offer so early in the recruiting process? I mean, we haven't even gotten to the official visit period in June yet, let alone the fall visits and the run up to signing day. I mean, we're a little under 9 months until signing day, and you got 10 guys already committed. We'll say right off the bat that you don't expect to have all 10 of these guys still on the commitment list by the time we get to signing day in December. It's the simple nature of the fact. It's the nature of recruiting in 2023 that you're not going to have all of these guys still on board by the time you get to signing day. Inevitably, you're going to lose some of them. We saw that last year. They lost a bunch of guys last year. Some they pushed away. Some they just straight up lost. Kenny Minchie and Bryce Pollock and Sheldon Lewis. I mean, like this, it happens. It's not completely. I think you come to expect it. And maybe, and I don't know if the coaches would say this or admit it or put it this way, but I mean, maybe you build that into your recruiting numbers that say you take 10 commitments thinking that you'll probably lose 2 out of every 10, and so you only project to have space for 8, but you take 10 or 11 because you think you might lose 2 or 3. And again, I don't think Pat Narduzzi would ever say that they recruited that way. I don't think he would say that they took a commitment thinking, well, this guy probably won't stick. But I think just in general, if you look at the group as a whole, you remove names, faces, just numbers, you say you've got 10 commitments, maybe 7 or 8 end up signing. Just because it's just what it is. And I think you do run into a higher potential for decommitments when you have commitments coming in this early. But that doesn't explain why, that was the case last year too. And I think Pitt knew it and kind of understood it and realized it. But it doesn't explain why so many guys have jumped on the offers so soon. And I really do think, I'm not going to use the phrase recruiting bump, all right, because we took a lot of heat over that over the last year when maybe it didn't happen the way that it was expected to in the wake of the ACC championship. But I think what you're looking at right now is a program that's got some real momentum going for it. No matter how you and I might have felt about last season, and I think on the whole, the season was a success. You win 9 games, you end up finishing, you go 4-0 in November, you win the bowl game, you beat a Pac-12 opponent in the bowl game, you do it in rather exciting fashion, you end up with 20 wins over 2 seasons, you finish on a 5-game winning streak, you had an exciting win over West Virginia to open the season. You had some dark moments in the middle, but on the whole, if you go 9-4, that's a good year. And that 9-4 season is following up a year when you went 11-3 and won the ACC championship and went to the Peach Bowl. The program is showing signs of forward progress. The program is showing signs of being one of the better and more competitive programs in the ACC. And I think recruits are being around it. They're coming on these visits. They're around that environment. They're understanding what the program has accomplished. They're seeing what it's accomplished and seeing sort of the forward motion of the program. And I think they're saying they want to get on board. They want to get involved. They're not waiting to find out. It's not the best way to say this. I don't necessarily think recruits visited in the spring in the past and just sort of looked at Pitt as a backup option until they took their official visits. But I think with the momentum that Pitt has right now as a program, and the success that they've enjoyed over the last 2 years, there is a greater sense of urgency for recruits who come and visit and say, actually, no, I do want to be part of this. They're winning. They've got these great facilities. They've got great coaches I have a great relationship with. They have all these things that I like, and they're winning too. I want to be a part of this, and I'm going to get on board now. I don't want to miss my opportunity. I don't need to wait and take official visits and see some other schools first. This is the place I want to be. And I think they're getting a lot of that. And the guys that they've gotten, these commitments that they've gotten, I mean, this run of 6 guys or so, they're all kids who were on campus and either committed while they were here or shortly thereafter. They've had a bunch of visitors over the last couple of weeks coming in, midweek, and then a lot on the last 2 Saturdays. And they're pulling commitments out of these kids who come in, and mind you, they're not coming in for official visits. We've talked a lot about official visits in the past, how the coaches roll out the red carpet and give you this great experience and make it as amazing as possible, so that it seems like it's just the perfect place that you want to be. And they're still doing their best to give you a great experience on your visit, but it's not an official visit. It's not an all expenses paid 48 hours in paradise type of situation. It's you coming in for a day. You're going to go to team meetings. You're going to watch a scrimmage. You're going to spend time with your position coach. You're going to spend a lot of time with the recruiting staff, who I think is really good. Guys like Graham Wilbert and Carl Uzovko and Adam Kaltari, and they have a big staff down there. And they have a lot of guys working in the recruiting department, and I think they're doing a great job. But ultimately, you're just coming in and watching a practice. But being around the environment right now, I think there is an atmosphere of success. I mean, it's such a corny coach's thing to say, a thing that coaches would say, but there's a championship culture around this program right now. And I think the players are embodying that. I think the coaches are preaching it, and I think the recruits are buying into it. And they're saying, I want to be a part of this. This is, I want to play here. I mean, defensive guys are saying, I want to be a part of this defense. Look at this thing. Look at how they've played. I mean, all you need to do, you need to sit down with the defensive guy in a team meeting room and just start putting stats up on the board and occasionally putting clips of how these players actually play on the field, how these defensive players actually get it done on the field. And then put up stats of their accomplishments and what they've done over the last few years. And then I think offensive guys are looking at some key elements. I think they're watching some of these quarterbacks throw, which has to be appealing to wide receivers. I think they're seeing the development along the offensive line and looking at some of the guys Pitt has there this season. And they're saying, I fit in here. I can be a part of this. And it's resonating and it's landing. And it's some of the, most remarkable early cycle recruiting success I've ever seen Pitt have. I mean, that's not hyperbole. It's the truth. And I think when you look at for the reasons why, I think there's a not unimportant correlation with success. And Pitt's finding it. Pitt's got success on the field, and I think it is carrying over. I think there is a bit of a recruiting bump here. In addition to just, I think there's some really good recruiters on this staff, on the full-time assistant staff. And there's some really good recruiters in the recruiting office. And I think those guys they're killing it right now. They are killing it. All right, let's talk about a couple of the commitments. Like I say, 4 new commitments in. We only know about 3 of them so far. We've let's say only 3 have announced. Giovanni Cooley, offensive tackle from Erie, Pennsylvania, from Cathedral Prep. We listed him at 6'6", 265. He's around that size, but he's a big tackle prospect. He had Power 5 offers from Boston College and Maryland and Syracuse. A guy who probably could see his offer sheet blow up with the spring evaluations once coaches go out on the road. But it's one of these things, I think, with offensive linemen where you would want all the highly rated and high offered guys that you can get. Cooley's a 3-star guy with, like I said, Boston College and Maryland and Syracuse offers in addition to Pitt. But there is a certain amount of projection where, I think if you're not one of the top 10 programs nationally, a whole lot of it's going to come down to your offensive line coach projecting guys and taking guys that he likes. And clearly Dave Borbely likes Cooley. Zachary Crothers, defensive end prospect from Chaminade, Madonna. Similar sort of offer sheet. He's got Power 5 offers. Indiana, Minnesota, Oregon State are his other Power 5 offers in addition to Pitt. The thing with Crothers, he's a defensive end prospect from South Florida. Like if you want, I'm not going to say it's a sure thing, but if you want to put a few facts on paper, or a few qualifying attributes on paper to get you to say, okay, I'm willing to wait and see how that guy does, and I'm willing to take a chance on that guy, you would say, defensive end or defensive lineman, South Florida, Charlie Partridge target. And if Charlie Partridge signs off on a guy, and we said this about Maverick Gracio last year, if Charlie Partridge signs off on a guy, okay, yeah, I can't argue with the success he's had. And I'm getting the feeling that this year's defensive line is only going to further reinforce the kind of unwavering blind faith we all have in Charlie Partridge at being very, very good at doing his job. So if Charlie Partridge sees it in Zach Crothers and thinks this guy can play at the ACC level, I'm willing to go with that. I'm willing to sign off on that one. And then Tayshaun Banks, a safety prospect from Cincinnati, Taft High School. Probably the best offer sheet out of any of these guys, in this run of commitments. Boston College, Georgia Tech, Kentucky, Michigan, Penn State, Purdue, West Virginia. Banks got an offer from Pitt last spring, attended their prospect camp in June. It was the first time I saw him and talked to him after the prospect camp. He was really impressive looking at that camp. Physically he's impressive. He was impressive with his play. And then after he committed, I happened to go and kind of watch his highlight film from Taft High School this past season, where they played, I think, 14 games. They went 11-3, made a deep run into the playoffs. And in those 14 games, Banks had 9 interceptions. He had 7 in the regular season. He had 2 in the playoffs. 2 of the 7 that he had in the regular season, he returned for touchdowns. He also had a 90-yard kick return for a touchdown, like a 50-some-yard punt return for a touchdown. The kid, he's a playmaker. This dude is a playmaker. And I've heard some questions about his speed. Wonder how fast he is. Is he fast enough to play this or that? I don't know, because I'm so caught up watching his film, watching these interceptions. You can look at the article we have up on Panther-Lair.com, and his film is embedded in there. You can go look at his huddle, or I think he's got it linked on his Twitter profile. You watch the first 90 seconds, maybe 2 minutes, and you're going to be sold. You're going to say, yep, this guy's good. He can make plays. I don't, speed, this or not, I don't know what his speed is. He looks fast enough to me, but I'm not good at evaluating these things on film. But I also know that I don't really care if you can get after the ball the way the Tayshaun Banks can. And this is another position, defensive backs. And probably, I might even just apply this to the whole defense, but I'm not arguing with this staff when it comes to their evaluations of defensive backs. Just like I'm not arguing with Charlie Partridge on his evaluations of defensive linemen, I'm not arguing with this staff when it comes to their evaluations of defensive backs. They've done well enough with the guys they've gotten, evaluating them, developing them, and turning them into players that you will get no arguments from me. I am sold on these guys being able to recruit those positions, cornerback and safety. I think they've done a bang-up job. We're at a point here where there might be a learning curve for breaking in guys like Javon McIntyre and PJ O'Brien when they bring in this new wave of safeties. Next year, they're probably going to bring in a new wave of corners, and they're going to have to break those guys in. But I'm not really losing much sleep over it. And to some extent, it's the same way on the defensive line, where you're going to have all these newcomers, but these guys, these coaches have proven themselves, I feel like, over a series of years that I just can't get too worked up or too nervous about it. Now, that'll come back to bite me when they give up a 65-yard touchdown pass to West Virginia or something like that because the safety was playing out of position because he made a rookie mistake, which is going to happen. I mean, the Pitt coaches, I think we all got caught up in Javon McIntyre's interceptions in the last two games. They're very quick to point out that he had multiple big busts in the Sun Bowl against El Paso. Randy Bates and Pat Narduzzi both brought that up rather quickly when we asked about how McIntyre finished the season last year. So they're going to make mistakes. But I think in terms of the talent, in terms of the development, in terms of just coaching them, I mean, I can't question it. And when it's and I say I can't question it when we talk about guys who maybe don't have great offer sheets or maybe don't have tape where they make plays where they jump off the screen. Tayshaun Banks has a good offer sheet and a great highlight tape. I mean, it is a fun highlight tape to watch. Again, I encourage you to go watch that. Finish this video and then go watch his video because you might enjoy it more than you enjoy this, which how could you possibly enjoy something more than the Morning Pitt, right? But you'll like Tayshaun Banks' film. So they're rolling right now on the recruiting front. I mean, they are rolling right now. It's going to be interesting to see where some of these guys stand with offers once they get through the spring evaluation period. It's going to be interesting to see where these guys stand with stars and evaluations by the time we get to their senior seasons, and certainly by the end of their senior seasons. I think they've gotten some really good players. There's some guys who I think are really exciting. Guys like I mentioned, Tayshaun Banks, I think is really exciting. I think Jules Goff is a really intriguing running back prospect. I think Darius Farmer and Jasir Whittington are good defense, or good at their positions. Farmer is a receiver and Whittington is a D tackle. Francis Brew, another defensive tackle who I think is really, I mean, it's a good group so far, and it's a big group. 10 commitments before the end of March. So who saw this coming? I didn't, but it gave us something really good to talk about on the Morning Pitt. And we'll do this. I mean, we'll do recruiting stuff whenever it comes up and whenever it's relevant. And certainly when they get 4 commitments in like 3 days, it's relevant. So that's the latest on the recruiting front. Of course, if you want to stay up to date on everything going on in Pitt recruiting, Panther-Lair.com, Pittsburgh.rivals.com. It's the most comprehensive source of Pitt sports news on the internet, football, basketball, and recruiting. You find it all at Panther-Lair.com, and of course, message boards where you can interact with hundreds and thousands of your closest Pitt fan friends. Panther-Lair.com, Pittsburgh.rivals.com on the message boards. We're talking about all the recruiting right there. Panther-Lair.com. Like this video while you're here. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Panther-Lair.com. We appreciate that. I also appreciate you watching the video this morning. Hope you had a great Monday yesterday. Hope you have a great Tuesday today. And we'll be back tomorrow morning for another edition of the Morning Pitt right here on youtube.com/Panther-Lair.com.